everybody, so we're back to another art supply trial video, and today what we're going to be trying is kind of a unique art supply. It's a little bit different, a little bit weird. It is the Winsor Newton Pigment Markers. Now, I don't know if this was created to kind of like compete with Copic and Prismacolor kind of craze that's happening in the current landscape, but pretty much essentially, this is not sponsored, obviously. I bought these, I actually got a gift card, and I was like, pigment markers, and I'm super into watercolor, and I saw that these are kind of like watercolor pigment markers, so I was like, I'm gonna try these out. So I bought this pack, and it's a very beautiful box. Oh, almost dropped them all out. Anyway, it's a beautiful box, and I just love the presentation of them. There's 36 of them in here, and so I'm going to be going through and trying them out. I'm also going to be showing you a swatch, comparing them to Prismacolor markers. I do not have Copics. I'm like middle of the road. It's like I'm not quite there yet. So yeah, I'm going to be comparing them to Prismacolors, and I'm going to kind of give you just an overview of what I feel about them and how I think about them and how I would personally use them, and then we'll see what their grade is at the very end. So I hope that you find this helpful, and let's get drawing together. So I actually pre-recorded this and then I rambled, as one does. So I decided to voice over what I was actually saying. So in this, I'm explaining how I actually swatched out the Winsor Newtons on the top, and then on the bottom I did with Prismacolors. Now I tried to match them up as best I could for kind of color comparison, and as you can see, the top one is a little bit more streaky, but it's kind of hard to see in this picture the actual difference. So they're very comparable in the swatch setting, but where it really starts to get kind of interesting is when we started to actually use them. And so here in this next one, I actually drew this crystal, and blending in the crystal was okay. It kind of created this interesting stained glass effect, but this outside gray and inside gray, that inside gray is actually present throughout the entire piece. It's just the outside, that darker gray, just completely overpowered it, and I could not get it to be unstreaky. I went over it with blenders and alcohol and water, nothing would blend it in. And sometimes they actually say water will blend this. I could not get that to work. So I wanted to give it the actual like full effect. So I tried it again, this time with a little bit more light colors, so I wasn't blending such intense differences. And in this one, I did the green. I actually almost ran out of green though. Like, these aren't that old, but my green actually started running out. But as you can see, I used that white over top of it, and it did make it pop, but it is duller than what I was expecting it to be. But that is more of the watercolor look anyway. So I wanted to do one more, so I went in and I drew these 3 squares. I'm going to do sky, earth, and water on the bottom, and just kind of let you see how did they go on. And so with this first one, I went in and I started just going in with the light blue, and as you can see right away, it's very streaky. So I went over it and over and over to try and kind of blend it in. And as I did it, it started getting a little better, but you end up using a lot of ink in order to do that, where when you're using the Prismacolors, it goes on a little bit more smoother. The other thing is to remember is these are actually pigment markers. They aren't oil or not alcohol based. And so as you go in, there is a more matte finish, so it is a little bit different. Also, like, the blending was really difficult. I actually started kind of wearing through the paper a little bit as I went, but as you can see, I did get it to work a little bit better. I stopped at this point. I didn't want to do the last one because I didn't want to waste the ink anymore. Done. And there were a few things that came up that made me really like have a lot of questions. First of all, they are very different from Copics and Prismacolors. For one, they don't blend as well. They're a little more muted, and I don't know if it was just my markers, maybe something went wrong with them, but they lost their ink super fast. Like, I've had my Prismacolors for years, and I feel like they just keep going. And these, they kind of ran out of the ink, especially my greens. I felt like my greens really went fast. And yes, they do blend really well together with other colors, but the blending marker was like kind of useless. So there was a lot of marks. And so I looked into it a little bit more about what they are. And so where Prismacolor is ink and alcohol, this is actually pigment and alcohol. So like, think about like color pencils, like that's pigment in it, like what makes color pencils, it like gives that the color. So It's kind of a new idea, but I think the pigment that is different is like it will create that kind of watercolor matte. It's not quite as bright, and as you add the colors on, they kind of stick to the page just a little bit more, so it's kind of a stickier medium. So I definitely see like the purpose of it. I definitely see where it has its like benefits and aspects depending on what you're used to painting with. But honestly, if you really wanted something kind of that marker quality, I don't know if this is necessarily the thing for you. However, I do still enjoy using them. I use them a lot for my bullet journaling. I use them a lot when I want to kind of touch something up in watercolor because they are pigment, and so that is kind of nice. You can get finer details in if you need to. So I've been using them all the time for different aspects of my work and stuff. So for as far as their final grade, I have to give them probably a B, a solid B. They're a solid B. So like not quite like to the point where like I was really hoping that they would just blend like wonders and just do really great. I couldn't get them to do what I've seen people demonstrate that they can do. And so personally, from my own experience, I give them a B. So yeah, I hope that you found this helpful, and I hope that you kind of liked it. I have linked them in the doodler underneath if you want to look more about it. I also linked an article to a little bit more about how they were constructed. But remember, like, this is just my own personal opinion on this. You may love them, you may hate them. Tell me. Tell me in the comments if you love them or hate them. Tell me if I'm completely wrong and I got them all wrong and I used them like a goober, because I may have. That is not beyond my abilities to use things stupidly. So, anyhoozle. Yeah, I hope you found this interesting. Have a great day, everybody. Bye!